Hello, this is Pastor Manning. Welcoming you to the Beacon of Hope podcast, coming to you from Lighthouse Baptist Church, 2032 Cedar Hill Road. Speak to you just a few moments on the reality and perception of giants. The giants were encountered in the Bible when the children of Israel were going in to take the promised land. I'm going to read a verse which comes from the report that was given by the spies that had been sent into the land by Moses. There were 12 of them that went in. 10 of the spies which came back, the Bible says, gave an evil report of the land. And they caused the people to be so fearful of what was in that land, what was going on, that the nation disobeyed God and would not go in because of unbelief. And an entire generation, everyone 20 years old and upward, died in the wilderness without ever entering the promised land because of the report that these 10 spies gave. The essence of what they said and the essence of their fears as they were spoken are captured in one verse. That's Numbers 13, verse 33. It says, "And there we saw the giants, the sons of Anak, which come of the giants. We were in our own sight as grasshoppers, and so we were in their sight." Following thoughts I'm going to give you were born of a conversation I had with a man who sometimes contacts me for input into his spiritual growth. There's an item in his life with which he struggles, which frequently is brought up in any discussion of spiritual growth or victory which we have. While speaking with him recently, I got the sense that this one issue had become so central in his mind that he had begun to look at it as that one thing which keeps him from having his consistent Christ-like walk that he desires. In thinking this way, he is actually magnifying the problem to the status of a giant in his life, an insurmountable enemy that keeps him from the promised land of victorious Christian living. I entitled this, "The Reality and Perception of Giants," because spiritual strongholds, which are mentioned in 2 Corinthians 10:4, and temptations, which are unduly strengthened by our own lust, as it is stated in the book of James, are the reality of the giants which we face in our lives. The perception of the giants are the conclusions about these strongholds and temptations, which are based on fleshly thinking instead of faith reasoning. These conclusions cause us to say, like the unbelieving spies, we were in our own sight as grasshoppers, and so we were in their sight. This faulty fleshly reasoning does nothing but reinforce the perception of our incapability and the giant's invincibility. Be mindful not to magnify what the giants actually are through an unscriptural view of them. One prominent and easily understood example of this dangerous type of thinking centers around what is usually referred to as a besetting sin. What's generally meant by this term is that thing which a person finds to be a particular struggle and too often a point of failure. If one is not careful, he will give himself permission through the concept of a besetting sin to allow a recurrent temptation or sin to become an accepted and or unavoidable part of his life. That is, in fact, one way in which we can unwisely give place to the devil. The word beset means to skillfully surround. It's best known where it occurs in Hebrews 12:1. "Wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight, and the sin which does so easily beset us. Let us run with patience the race that is set before us." This word appears in the Bible 5 times before this passage. In those 5 instances, it variously indicates evil men surrounding a house or a person, the presence of God surrounding a believer for good, and the deeds of the wicked surrounding them and becoming a snare. The concept of a besetting sin can better be understood and dealt with if we apply the actual scriptural phrase to what we mean. That phrase is strongholds, a fortified, entrenched, or easily defensible position. The spiritual application of strongholds is found in 2 Corinthians 10, verses 3 through 5. For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds, casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalteth itself against the knowledge of God, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ. The following statement can be taken as a summary of how to deal with the reality of giants. They exist, must and can be overcome by obedience to God, while avoiding the perception of giants, which causes us to comparatively see ourselves as grasshoppers who can't live in the fullness of God's promise because of the giants. The statement is this: rather than giving extreme focus to how to have victory over a particular temptation or sin, give your attention fully to how to use what God has given you in order to live the victorious life of obedience. In short, don't focus on the enemy. Learn to use God's weapons. God bless you, and may you have a great day.